the train station at 400 North 13th Street about 2:40 p.m., 25 minutes behind schedule. The Union Pacific Big Boy number 4014 is touring the American Southwest. The tour was created to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. The Big Boy locomotive was originally retired in 1961 after operating for 20 years and traveling more than 1 million miles. After Union Pacific reacquired the locomotive in 2013, the company began restoring it. The train began its second round of travels in May 2019. For Salina Media Connection, I'm Jason Beats.
Hey kids, thanks so much for joining us today. We have some new exciting stuff for you to watch this week, more arts and crafts, some cool new things to try at home, and of course, some more awesome music. For those of you joining us for the first time, I'd like to introduce you to SMC's new program, The Kids Connection. It's a program especially for you. We have new shows for you every day. Catch us at 10 a.m. in the morning if you like to watch your TV then. And then if you'd rather watch late in the afternoon or watch it again, you can tune in at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And please be sure to join us on Fridays when we get together highlights of all the week's shows. Thanks for tuning in. We have quite a show for you. You guys have fun.
Hey, hope you're having fun. Up next, we have some more arts and crafts with Ashley Wheeler.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, it's called some clay spindles. As you see, I've got a cork with some shish kebab sticks with a toothpick in the middle. And we've got these clay balls.
You can use whatever clay you have. It doesn't have to be colorful.
And I'm going to give you that one.
Okay, we bought the clay at Hobby Lobby because they have the best clay, in my opinion. But you can buy it wherever you think there's clay.
And then, Rosie, I'll go ahead and get yours started, okay?
So, watch Ashley
You just-
as she gets it ready. So she takes the sharp side and she puts it in the cork.
And you're going to want it to be somewhat symmetrical
Yes. you
for
want-
balance.
Yes.
So after you have that step,
4, and then
so go ahead and put the balls on the ends.
yes. I'm freaking. You need 4 of these, and then just stick it in, and then it will look, and then you can it will look really nice. But your clay doesn't have to have color once again. Then
And, you know, you can have 4. You could do it 2-sided. But we'll just kind of give you an idea of what it's going to do. It balances pretty darn good.
yes. I don't know if you noticed, but I did dark.
Here, grab that bowl, honey. Here, let me set this one on here.
So she's gonna do hers, and
And as you can see, just the balance, and you can get it to spin.
on your finger, and it might be a little sharp, but don't worry.
So that's how you make clay spindles.
Yes. And it looks out pretty good. You can put this in your room. You can put it anywhere you want. They're like moon. You can have it in your birthday party too. I had one at my birthday party. And they
All right.
look like a moon. Make sure you make spindles with clay balls. It doesn't matter what balls you have, but it doesn't have to look pretty. So make small spindles. Yeah.
All right, girls.
Now it's time to make some. Okay, can we have a sushi?
So glad you could join us. Keep watching. There's lots more.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Rolling Hills Zoo's Bringing the Zoo to You. My name is Nick, I'm one of our great apes keepers, and today we'll be talking about chimpanzees. Alright, so welcome again to our Bringing the Zoo to You program with chimpanzees. We have 4 chimpanzees here. We have, from oldest to youngest, we have Shudak at 42 years old, Ollie at 38. Tolo, is actually 39, so he's a little bit older than Ollie. And then Millie is 20 years old. She's our youngest, and she's our only female. And she actually runs our troop, which is somewhat odd for chimpanzees. Usually, there's an alpha male who runs the group. And in our group, that is not the way. Millie has taken over, and she likes it that way. Right now, we have let them out into their yard and given them some forage, which is some fruits and vegetables that we've chopped up and scattered across, so they have to go and pick up the things that they like or that they want to eat. And we've also given them some opportunities to do some tooling. In the front there, you can see Shudak has grabbed himself a stick, and he is getting some peanuts out of that box there by dragging them to the front with that stick. They would do this in the wild to get at termites and ants and even honey. And so we like to offer them opportunities for them to do some natural behaviors, just like with foraging as well. A little bit about chimpanzees in general. They come from Central Africa, and they are members of the species Pampaniscus. They are most often found in the forests, and they can live in both the trees as well as on the ground, and they often spend a portion of their time doing both of those things. When moving around in the trees, they climb upright, as well as they brachiate, which means that they use their hands to swing from branch to branch. When they are on the ground, they are often walking quadrupedally, just like Tolo is here, using their knuckles to walk. A good advantage of chimpanzees walking on their knuckles, as well as having the grasping thumb, they can carry out food in their hands as well as in their feet, because they have that thumb on their feet as well. So Tolo has got some biscuits in his feet, as well as some food in his one hand, and he's walking around getting as much of his stuff as he wants right now, and then he will likely go lay down or sit there and eat what he's gathered, which is pretty typical of a chimpanzee in the wild. They will forage during the day, get some food, and then they will come down and eat it. Some of the things that our chimpanzees do pretty often, which is commonly seen in the wild, is they will groom with each other, which is kind of a relationship building thing for them. And they do that often, and it helps to keep them clean. It helps to keep them from having bugs or dirt in their skin and in their hair, as well as, like I said, build that bond between each other. Because chimpanzees are a social primate, so they do need to make sure their relationships are in a good place with each other. Chimpanzees in the wild can live in groups of 15 to in the mid-hundreds and 150 or so. That being said, the majority of their time is spent in smaller groups with their friends, essentially, the other individuals that they like. And they will forage with each other, they will groom with each other, and they will even go hunt occasionally. And so we have a fairly small troop, but that is also pretty common because they do separate into smaller family groups. That being said, ours are not related to each other. Apologize for the delay, we just got a message. But yeah, they will separate off into family groups with related individuals, and oftentimes family groups consist of a lot of their male relatives, and females will generally go and join a different family because there is usually an alpha male who kind of controls the whole group, so they will go join another family. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to comment on this video, and we want to thank you for tuning in to our Bring the Zoo to You program. We're happy to see it on the Facebook page. Thanks.
Hello everybody, my name is Noah Wellbrock-Talley, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the Chinese zodiac. Now, for those of you who don't know, a zodiac is a system of beliefs that assigns certain character traits to a person based on the time they were born. And the Chinese zodiac believes that you might carry some of these traits based on specifically the year you were born. They assign to each year a different animal, and those animals represent certain traits. Within the Chinese zodiac, there are 12 different animals. There are the rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, boar or pig, rat, ox, and tiger. And every 12 years the cycle repeats. So as you can see with the years listed in this image, if we started with rabbits born in the year 1939, after another 12 years, we'll be back to rabbits in 1951, and so on and so forth with all the different animals. Now, we only have so much time in this video, so I'll only be able to get through about half of the zodiac, or 6 different animals, and I'm starting with some of the simpler ones. If you feel the need to pause or to go back so that you can make sure you're getting all the steps, or you're practicing things as necessary in order to get the best drawing possible, please feel encouraged to do so. Alright, so the first member of the Chinese zodiac that we're going to draw today is the pig. And I'm choosing the pig because, well, for one thing, it's one of the easier animals to draw in the zodiac, but for another, it's actually my Chinese zodiac sign. So I was born in the year 1995, which as you can see is one of the years I've listed for the pig zodiac sign. If anybody can tell me how old I am based on that information, you'll get a bonus point. But yeah, I am associated with the pig in the Chinese zodiac. Some of the traits that come along with the pig include harmlessness, being well-behaved, and even some people believe that it can bring good fortune to individuals. They're also thought to be a little bit lazy and maybe that they eat too much, which is a fair criticism of myself. But generally, I'm happy to be a pig. I'm proud to be associated with this animal. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And drawing a pig actually starts with a pretty simple shape. We're going to create just a big old oval right here on our page, because a pig's body is usually really plump. They eat a ton and they tend to fatten up pretty fast. So our pig is going to have a really simple, big, plump body. Alright, once we've got our basic body shape down, I'm actually going to draw a shape that looks just like a heart, but upside down. And I'm going to put it over here towards the right side of our pig's body. Now this upside down heart shape is going to form the pig's nose. Pigs have kind of funny little turned up noses. So that's what I'm going to do here with my upside down heart. Now we need to add some nostrils. So I've got 2 circles inside the heart for the pig's nostrils. And then we're going to give him some eyes right above that nose on either side of it, just like that. 2 little pig eyes, okay? Now he's kind of starting to come together. Next we're going to give him a couple ears, which are basically just like a triangle shape, but you won't have to draw that bottom line. There's going to be one on either side of his nose, just like our eyes, but maybe a little further out. Here we've got our piggy ears. Alright, we're going to give him 4 very stubby feet that just look like little U-shaped bumps on the bottom of his body. Little bumps. And once those are drawn, we can actually take our eraser, which I'm going to switch to my eraser tool, and we can erase some of that overlapping line from the body to make it look more like his feet and his body are connected. Alright, we're nearly finished with our little piggy, but we've got to give him a classic curly tail, which you can just make look like a little hook over there on his butt. And finally, not all pigs have spots, but when I draw mine, I kind of like to give them spots. So I'm just going to go in and add a couple big blobby shapes in places where this pig might have some spots. You don't have to give him spots if you don't want to, but for me I just think that makes him look a little bit more interesting. filling them in, darker spots. And there you have it. Got yourself a very fat little pig. And of course, if you want to, you can always go back and color him up, color him in, finish him out. The next animal on our list of zodiac signs is the sheep. People who are born in the year of the sheep include those born in the years 2015, 2003, 1991, 1979, 1967, and so on, going back until the beginning of time. Now, the sheep is thought to be one of the most well-liked creatures in the Chinese zodiac. It is thought to be very warm and kind and calm, and when people see it, they often think of things that are beautiful or things that are, pleasant to look at. So people who are sheep are thought to mimic some of these character traits as well. Now, the sheep is one of our easier animals to draw, and it's actually pretty similar to the way that we drew the pig. Now, unlike the pig, we're not going to start with the shape of the body, but the steps are kind of the same. We're actually going to start instead with the shape of the sheep's head. And the sheep's head is basically an oval. It's an oval that's a little bit taller than it is wide. And I'm going to put it right over here towards the left side of my page. And this is going to form the shape of the sheep's head. Now, on top of its head, on either side, we're going to give it a couple of ears. And the ears are very similar to the shape of either a football or maybe an eyeball, if you want to think about it like that. But they connect to the sides of the head, kind of towards the top, like in the corners of the oval. 2 ears. All right, now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to give him 2 eyes, which again, pretty simple circular shapes on either side of his head. And then we're going to give him his nose and his mouth. Now, for the sheep's nose and mouth, I actually want you to draw something that's kind of like a stick figure, right? Think about a very excited stick figure who's waving his hands up in the air and maybe even jumping off the ground, but he's not going to have a head. So we've got our 2 arms, our body, and our 2 legs. That's going to be our sheep's nose and mouth. Pretty easy, right? All right, now we're going to give it a body. And the fun thing about sheep is you can make them as fluffy as you want to. So they're kind of like little walking clouds. So when you give this sheep a body, really all we're going to do is kind of make a big, poofy cloud shape. So that we have a really nice, fluffy sheep, just like that. Big and fluffy. Okay, now we're missing 2 things. First, the sheep's feet, which again, you can just make, kind of like our pigs, as little nubs. I squared mine off a little more. Remember, the pigs were just sort of like a U, but I've made these ones a little bit more square at the bottom. And of course, he's going to need 4 of them, because the sheep has 4 legs, just like that. Give him his little legs. And finally, he's going to have a little tail. And sheep, they don't have very long tails. They have kind of short tails that also have wool on them that fluff up kind of in the back like that. So it'll just be a little bump over on his backside. And there you go. That is our sheep. Once again, you may of course color him. Sometimes sheeps actually come in several different colors. Sometimes their wool's white, sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's black. So you can have a little bit of fun with that. Now we're stepping up the difficulty a little bit with the snake. So people born in the year of the snake are those born in 2013, 2001, 1989, 1977, and 1965, and then of course a lot more. People born in the year of the snake are, well, they don't have the best reputations, just because snakes don't always have the best reputations. So snakes are thought to be dangerous. Well, they are dangerous animals. However, they're also thought to be kind of mysterious. Some people in certain places in China do believe that finding a snake in your yard can bring good luck, but generally they're the sort of thing that you want to be cautious around. So those are some of the traits that one might ascribe to somebody born in the year of the snake. Now, the snake is a little bit harder, as I said, than the two animals we've drawn before, but we're going to try and break it down and make it as simple as we can. And I'm actually going to start my snake by making a shape that looks a lot like the number 3 over there. See, kind of like the number 3, but it doesn't curl down quite as much at the top and the bottom. And that's because I'm actually going to give it a third bump. Now, we could, of course, draw a really easy snake where we just make, you know, like a big S shape and it slithers around, whatever. But I want to make a snake that's a little bit more interesting looking. So I'm going to do one that's coiled up. This is going to start, like I said, with these shapes here, kind of like the number 3, but with an extra bump. Then we're going to go over a little bit, and we're going to make the same shape on the opposite side, just like this, all right? Now this is called symmetry. Symmetry is a word in art that means it's the exact same on both sides of the page. So we have our symmetrical shapes here. Now, once we've got either shape drawn, we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect them at these points, kind of down in these valleys, right? So see where I'm connecting them? Here at these sharp corners in our bumps. This is actually going to form the body of the coiled snake. Now, if it's easier for you, you could also do this kind of like 3 long ovals at a time, right? You could start by making one, and then do another one underneath it, and another one underneath it. It's whatever way you think is easiest, but I like to do it this way. Okay, this is already most of our snake's body, and since a snake is pretty much all body, you know, they don't have arms and legs, we're closer to being finished than you'd think. So now, coming off from the top, we're going to draw a big curve that's going to form the rest of our snake's body leading into its head, okay? 2 curvy lines. The one on top is going to go a little bit further, then the one below it is actually pretty short, like a C shape, like the letter C, okay? And now, we're going to come in and right around towards the edge of our first curvy line here on the right side, I'm going to go in and make basically a little square shape, like a block. And this is actually where our snake's head's going to be. Now, we're going to have the snake looking right at us, all right? Straight into our eyes, which means that its eyes are going to be actually pretty thin ovals way on the edges of its head, just like that. Right on the edges. And its mouth, snake's mouths, they kind of look like they're smiling. So its mouth is actually going to come up to a point in the middle and have these little wings on the side. See that? Kind of like a little wing. Give it 2 nostrils, which are just like little slits. And then, if I erase a little bit on its chin, we can actually give it a nice snake tongue. Snake tongues are funny because they fork out, right? They have like 2 prongs, like a fork. I believe snakes actually use their tongues to help them get around. They taste at the air, and it helps them figure out where they are and where they're going. Lastly, kind of like our pig, some snakes, they have patterns on their scales, right, all over their body. So I kind of like to give my snakes some spots. So I'm going to go ahead and, just like the pig, I'm going to find some places on his body where I might like to give him a couple of spots. Here and there. And again, those spots are just your choice. You can do them if you want to. If you don't have to. I'm going to show you my colored version here in a second, and the fun thing about snakes is that they come in all sorts of different colors. There are so many different kinds of snakes in the world. So you can really, I mean, the sky's the limit with your color choices. You can make them red, green, yellow, blue, orange, whatever. Me, green's my favorite color, so I decided that my colorful snake would be green, and he's got some little brown rings on him. Next up on our roster is the rabbit. People born in the year of the rabbit are those born in 2011, 1999, 1987, 1975, 1963, and so on. Within the Chinese zodiac, the rabbit is said to be an animal that is tender, lovely, and very approachable, which means that it's people who are rabbits are easy to go up and talk to get along with, etc. So being a rabbit is a pretty positive thing. Now, our rabbit is one of our probably more difficult animals we're going to draw today, but I'm going to try and break it down as best as I can. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to draw is a shape that kind of represents a pear. So it's a little bit more narrow at the top than it is at the bottom. Okay? And this is going to form our rabbit's head. I'm sketching very lightly and loosely because when I go back and continue to draw on top of it, things are going to get a little more refined, and I might even have to do a little bit of erasing, which is totally normal. So this is going to form our pear shape, and once we've got that in, or our head shape, we're going to go in and add the rabbit's body, which is really kind of just another big circular shape. Just like that. So now we've got a head and a body. Let's go ahead and add 2 rabbit ears on top of its head. Rabbit ears are big, very long oval shapes. There are rabbits that have floppy ears that hang off the sides of their heads, and you could draw one of those too, but I'm going to draw one with pointy ears because those are the ones that are living around my neighborhood. I've got a ton of them in my front yard, probably because I think my neighbor feeds them. But now he's going to have a little tail on his backside, and rabbit tails tend to kind of point upward, but they're also pretty fluffy, so it's a pretty round shape, just like that. Okay, and now, just like we did on our sheep, remember how we had that shape for the nose and mouth that kind of looked like a stick figure guy who had his hands up in the air, right? It's going to be basically the same shape. His hands up in the air and his legs out like he's jumping, but he's got no head. Okay, this is going to form our rabbit's little nose and mouth, just like that. And once we've got that in, we can go ahead and give him an eye. Now, I'm only going to give this rabbit one eye, and the reason for that is because his head is tilted enough to the side that you probably wouldn't be able to see both of his eyes. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but when you tilt your head, one of your eyes kind of rotates away from the field of view. So with this rabbit, we're only going to be able to see one of his eyes, and so I'm only going to draw one eye. But it'll still look okay because we can tell that he is just looking away. All right. Okay, now we've got most of our rabbit down. I'm going to go ahead, pretend that his back legs are kind of tucked underneath his body, so he's not really going to have visible back feet, but we got to give him a couple front feet. So for one of those front feet, I'm just going to make, again, a little like an oval down here at the base of his body, and then kind of some lines to suggest his legs stick up. And then for his other one, I'm going to come in, and it's just going to jut out right next to that first one, just like that. Little round, stubby bunny feet. Now I can go back in, and I can say erase some of those lines like I said I would earlier. That's why we sketch, because when you sketch, you draw really lightly, and when you draw lightly, it's easier to erase without leaving any marks behind. And I can even make a shape for the inside of his ear, which is just going to look like another oval on the inside. But you wouldn't see that on the other ear, just on the one. And as always, I've prepared for you a colored version. I made him a little white bunny. Very fluffy, very cute. Our 5th Chinese zodiac sign will be the sign of the rat. And as you can see here from the years I've got listed, this year, 2020, is actually the year of the rat. So if any of you had any siblings or cousins that were born this year, they will be associated with this animal. Now, to the Chinese, the rat symbolizes things like wittiness, alertness, delicacy, flexibility, and vitality, which means it's full of life. So it's actually associated with a lot of pretty good characteristics. I know that rats in the West are often thought of as a bad thing, but in the Chinese zodiac, the rat has a lot of good qualities. So It's actually pretty cool. Now, our rat is, again, a little bit tricky to draw, but it has a lot in common with, I think, the rabbit that we just drew, so hopefully that'll help you navigate your way through this a little easier. Now, again, just like with the rabbit, I'm going to start with a shape that is kind of like a pear, all right? So it's going to have a larger bump on the or a smaller bump on the top, excuse me, and then kind of a larger bump on the bottom, like this, which is also going to form the shape of the head. Now, I'm not going to connect all the way around. I'm actually going to curve that bump in a little bit, and you'll see why here in just a second. So this bump on top, that's going to be the top of the head. And then this is actually going to start to curve into its mouth. Now I'm going to create another bump down below that will be the bottom of the rat's jaw, the bottom of its head. And then I'm going to make a big old bulge for its fat rat body. Most of our animals today have had kind of big, chunky bodies, which is fun. Makes them cute. It's going to have a body just like that. Kind of another big oval shape like we've had on a lot of them, the pig and the bunny. Now I'm going to go in and we're going to make another stick figure, but this one's a little different. Because while the other ones haven't had any heads, but they've had arms and legs, this one's actually going to start with a head that can be kind of like a little circle. But it's not going to have any arms. It will have 2 legs. See how I connected that to where I had on my face? Those become the legs, but it does not actually have any arms. And this is our little rat's nose and now its mouth. Underneath it, it's almost like he's jumping over a bucket or something. I'm going to put a little square shape that's going to form the rat's big buck teeth. Because rats, they have really big teeth in the front that help them eat their food. Okay, now, remember our rabbit, how he only had one eye because he was kind of looking in one direction? Our rat is going to be the same way. It's only going to have one eye that we can see, okay? The other eye is going to be over on the side of his head over here, which means that we aren't able to see it. But that'll still look okay once the drawing's done. Now, rats, they've got big, pretty round ears. They're not like the pig. The pig had pointy, kind of triangle ears. The rats have big, round ears, okay? It's going to need 2 of them, one on each side of its head. They'll kind of flare out a little bit like that. And again, you can put a shape on the inside of the ear, too, to show that part of it. Now, rats, I think they have big whiskers, so I'm going to go ahead and going to start inside of its cheeks here. See where I made this dot? And I'm just going to make a big line out, like that. See? Maybe give it 3 whiskers on each side. Just like that, okay? Now that its head's done, most of the work is accomplished. We're going to give it some little feet. Now, rat feet are actually, they're not as simple as some of the other animals. They've got little toes and all these individual parts, but I don't think we're going to get into that because drawing hands and feet can get pretty tricky. So we're just going to give him kind of these little nubs, again, like we've been doing with our other animals. Little nubs, and then I'm going to give him a little elbow, okay, which is this sort of backwards C shape that curves off there. And he's got to have a back leg too. His back feet are a little bigger than his hands, so he's going to have a bigger nub there. And then another curve that suggests the shape of his back leg. Comes up off the top of his foot. Okay, now a rat, as hopefully you know, they all have these very long, kind of fleshy, like tails. Mice and rats have tails with no fur on them, and they're long and kind of look like that simple snake. So we're going to do just a real quick, like a big letter S shape, all right? Over here, make a big letter S, and it'll connect right there at the base of the rat. And then we're going to make another little letter S right underneath it and connect the 2 at the point, just like that, to create the rat's long and wispy tail. There you have it. There's our little rat. And here is the version that I took the time to color. Last, but certainly not least, we're going to draw a rooster. This is the zodiac sign that's associated with people born in the years 2017, 2005, 1993, 1981, and 1969. And this also happens to be the zodiac sign that both of my parents identify with. They're both roosters, because they were born in '69. So, the rooster is probably the toughest one that we're going to draw today, which is why I saved it for last. We're hopefully going to build on some of the things you've learned following the other tutorials. Now, let's get started here. And the first thing that I'm going to draw with my rooster is actually going to be a small diamond shape. I'm going to start with a tiny little diamond shape. And this is going to be the rooster's beak. So I'm putting it kind of towards the top half of my page because I know that its body is going to fill up a lot of space moving down. But we're just starting with a simple diamond shape, and then in the middle of the diamond shape I'm going to make a line that kind of points up and folds like that. And that is the dividing line between the top part of the beak and the bottom part of the beak. Now underneath the beak we're going to create part of the rooster's wattle. Now a wattle is the weird red skin stuff that you'll see on a rooster underneath its beak and also on the top of its head, kind of like their beard and hair. And we're going to do that just by making a bumpy like cloud shape underneath his beak like that. And once we get his head in, we're going to do another one on top of his head. So the head shape with the rooster is actually pretty simple. It's basically going to be a big bumpy curve like this. Just one tall bump that goes over well above the beak and comes down on either side like an upside down U, just like that. Once we've got that head in, we can go ahead and finish the wattle by doing the part on top of his head. And the wattle on top of the head I'm going to do as just 3 bumps. 1, 2, 3. And they kind of come down and recede behind his head over to one side. 1, 2, 3, like that. Alright, now that we've got those, we can go ahead and give him some eyes. I'm going to zoom in here for a second. I'm going to give him 2 eyes, pretty close to the sides of his head. Like that. Little ovals. You can make them circles if you like, or ovals, either way. And there we go. Now we've got his head all done. So, once we've got the head done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw pretty lightly a shape for the body. Now, the rooster's body is not quite a circular shape, and it's not quite an oval, because it kind of slants down over here on the right side, see, like this, and then it curves up around like this. So it's not a perfect circle, it's not a perfect oval, it's a little bit more unusual, which is one of the things that makes the rooster a little bit trickier. And the reason this is because this is actually where we're going to end up putting his tail feathers here in a bit. So his body is shaped slightly strangely. Before we get to the wings, I'm going to go ahead and do his feet, which are pretty simple. So for the feet, I'm going to give him 2 little stubs. These are not actually his feet. These are just some of the feathers that crawl down on his legs. Give him 2 little stubs down here, kind of like our pig. And then from the stubs, we're going to create a shape that almost looks like the end of an arrow, right? It's going to jut out this way and then go back in the opposite direction. Because bird legs, a lot of the time, fold kind of funny. They kind of fold backwards to the way that human legs do. You know how we've got knees and they bend? Bird legs bend the opposite way. So we're going to create these 2 kind of arrowhead shapes coming out of the nubs. And then for their feet, we're just going to have 3 little spikes. 1, 2, 3. 3 little spikes. That's going to give us our bird legs, all right? Okay, once those are done, we can go ahead and add the wings. And the wings, the shape of the wing is going to be pretty similar to the shape of the body, just smaller, okay? So I'm going to start that wing shape here, right underneath kind of this side of the head. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of mimic that shape of the body, where it curves up and then it kind of straightens back out, just like that. See? It's going to be our wing. The other wing we're not really going to be able to see as much, because again, he's kind of tilted. His body is tilted away from us, so we won't be able to see everything equally. But once we've got that one wing in, now all we've got to do is focus on our tail feathers. And the tail feathers are just a bunch of curvy lines. But where you place the curvy lines is what's going to give you the idea that you've got a big rooster tail feather. So I'm going to start with a curvy line like that juts out from his back side, where we have the shape of the body. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a series of other curvy lines that run right next to it and connect at the end. See how I'm doing this? I'm moving over and down just a little bit. See, it goes over and down, etc. Moving over and down until I have my last one. And the last one is going to curve all the way around almost like a circle. It's not going to connect, okay? Leave some space. And in that space, that's where we're going to have another curvy line. The reason we're doing this is because now, if we connect this and bring it back up like that, it can look like we're seeing both the top side and the back side of his tail feathers. So it makes it look a little more 3D. Now we can do the same thing with the other feathers by just adding another bump there. Like the feathers really fold around and hang over, just like a rooster feathers would. And just like that, we've got him done. Coloring the rooster was one of my favorites just because the rooster has a lot of colors on him. He's got gold feathers, he's got a red wattle, he's got kind of a bluish green tail, and he's got that really golden beak. So this is our last zodiac animal. Now, like I said at the beginning, there are 12 in total. We only drew 6 today because we only had enough time for that. These were also the easier ones. Drawing things like an ox and a horse gets a little more complicated, but I hope that you found these helpful. I hope they were fun. And I hope that if you didn't find your own zodiac sign in this list, maybe you found one that belongs to a relative or a friend, and you can tell them what you've learned today. So thanks for stopping by and checking this out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you for watching Kids Connection. Make sure to watch it next time.
Am I dreaming? Well, eyes wide open, In the middle is not where I'm meant to be. I've gotta get out of this place now. Chew me up, spit me out, or set me free. Am I listening to what you've told me? Am I hearing what I want? Am I living this life you've shown me? Am I wandering on my own? I know there's gotta be more than this. I know that I've gotta get out of here. I've gotta get out of this place now. In the middle is not where I'm meant to be. I've gotta get out of this place now. Chew me up, spit me out, or set me free. I've gotta get out of this place now. In the middle is not where I'm meant to be. I've gotta get out of this place now. Chew me up, spit me out, or set me free. Don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna change. And I know that there's gotta be more than this. I know that I've gotta get out of here. Yeah, I've gotta get out of this place now. In the middle is not where I'm meant to be. I've gotta get out of this place now. Chew me up, spit me out, or set me free. I've gotta get out of this place now. In the middle is not where I'm meant to be. I've gotta get out of this place now. Chew me up, spit me out, or set me free. Oh, set me free.
I go back in time when I see you. Knees lock, heart stops. Do you see me too? I look up and wonder, are you there? You there, me here, moving to each other softly. You lead, I go, right where you want me. Chin up, arm out, let's waltz in the dark. No one else to see. Waltz in the dark, just you and me. We spin, we twirl, we fall into it again. Your lead could be all I need in the end. Just you here with me to waltz in the dark. No one else to see. Waltz in the dark, just you and me.
in my mind, we'll both crash and burn and give it time, and we will return. And if it's so, then give me your hand and we'll go far away. And in my dreams, you're cold and you're black, and it seems like I will be too. And if we fade into something gray, then make sure we return. Everyone's fake, and you're just like me. You're suffering for the truth. I learned to be numb. I'm moving on to what means the most, and it's you. It's you. And so love, I refuse to move on in life without you. So tell me the price. They can take my riches away, but they can't take my heart. So in my dreams, you're cold and you're black, and it seems I will be too. And if we fade into something gray, then make sure we return. 'Cause everyone's fake, and you're just like me. You're suffering for the truth. And I learned to be numb. I'm moving on to what means the most. It's you. It's you. And so
heard a song on the radio. Next day saw a video. Melody just seemed to ease my mind. Tape drop and we hit the store. Can't wait till we get it home, so I can waste the day away and cry.
Giving choices. Children like choosing, well, so do adults. Choosing makes us feel important and powerful. We know this but it was reinforced in blazing color to me one summer on our family vacation to Disneyland. Now, this story's central character is a 5-year-old boy named Michael, and his name has been changed for this narrative. Michael is not my child, but our family, my husband and 3 children, got to know Michael while we were in front of him in what turned out to be a very long line for the Jungle Cruise ride. Now, our first knowledge of him behind us was a loud scream. This was followed by many other loud screams, kicks against the railings, many stomps, and many tears. Michael was truly having a tantrum just a couple of feet behind us. We couldn't help but overhearing this, as did every other family within a half-a-mile radius, that Michael was mad about not being tall enough to ride the Indiana Jones ride. So he screamed at life, at his mom, and at himself. "I'm a midget," he kept saying over and over. Mom was doing a nice job. She was listening, offering gum, and explaining calmly why he couldn't ride the other ride, and expressing hope about the enjoyment of this upcoming Jungle Cruise ride. But Michael kept floundering. He was sinking so low, so fast, and in front of so many people that he was about to drown. Finally, after a lengthy time of ignoring him, I turned around to Michael. I caught his eye, held my camera in my hands, and got down on my knees. Looking at his tear-filled, swollen, red face, I said to him, "Michael, I'm from Kansas, and I've been taking a lot of pictures of my family at Disneyland, but I never get to be in a picture. I'd really like to be in one with my family, but I need someone to take it. Would you take a picture for me with my camera?" The screaming stopped. Michael didn't stare at this lady from Kansas very long before he sniffled out a rather firm yes. I was then able to see many faces staring at me. Michael's mom, looking rather war-weary, managed a large smile and a whispered thank you. My family, however, all had panicked looks on their faces. What is our mother doing? Why is she willingly walking into the lion's den and taking us with her? But this wasn't a lion's den to Michael. It was a deep, deep well that he had dug for himself, and he just didn't know how to get out. Most every child wants to behave well. Sometimes, though, they dig themselves down so far that they're stuck. An adult or parent must offer opportunities for them to choose their way out. Now, sometimes we all like wallowing in the messes we've made, but if a table is set with sincerity and an opportunity for a clean slate is given, the vast majority of children will rise to a level of maturity. They will live where we ask them to live and assume a level of importance for the responsibilities presented. Michael proceeded to take the picture. He took it like a professional. After that, we thanked him and we chatted throughout the rest of the line, and we all had a very pleasant jungle cruise. By the way, we have his picture perfectly clear and with no heads cut off that we framed. Now, was I taking a chance with my camera? Oh, most certainly. Michael could have thrown it down, stomped on it, and began his tantrum all over again. But he chose not to, not out of fear or shame, but because he chose. Michael got taller. And why did this work well? Well, not because I was a genius. It worked because Michael made it work. He chose. He decided to rise to the level that had been presented to him. He worked the magic, not me. All I did was set the table. He chose to sit and eat.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
As you walk the streets of downtown Salina, you'll see the 2020 statues unveiled, Santa Fe Avenue clear and wide, new businesses. You'll also notice scaffolding around the Stiefel. Workers have started rebuilding the tower high atop the Stiefel Theater. It's going to be much like it was originally when it was built in 1931 as the Fox Watson Theater.